Rick Without the K James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
So our next topic is red flags and concerns when you're dating. And we're going to start with you on this one, Natalie. Natalie, we're going to skip you and...
Oh man, there's so many red flags. I mean, come on, everybody's fucked up nowadays. One red flag, like that's a big one, is like you don't like my kids, right? Because the kids is a package deal. It's 1 and 3. You just get all 3.
Yeah.
That's a really big red flag. I mean, another one would be like not supportive of what you want. But those are those questions that you ask when you first get into a relationship, where you're like, we need to check these off, make sure we're on the same page, you know, before I X you out, give you my number or not. You
now,
know?
do you say that because you was married up until what, about 2 years ago?
True
technically,
story.
still
It's
right?
three years. We're unofficially divorced. Already,
And then
all
you
the
got
paperwork
into another
is
relationship.
all the paperwork is already in, and I jumped right into another relationship.
So do you have these red flags now?
They're all
of the-
red flags. A whole bunch of red flags.
Because of the current relationship, and you're like, man, I wish I would have slowed down and asked these questions.
Honestly, I wish I would have slowed down and been more selective. You know, I'm like a long-term relationship girl. This is so I did jump into another relationship, but we have not been together for since January. So it's been 8 months that I'm pretty much single. I live with him because there's nowhere to go in the corona, but we're not together. You know what I mean?
You're one of those.
Yeah. But we're not
to edit this part
together. You know what I'm saying? Which is a big red flag. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, I still do love him.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah,
So
this was not the best question for me, because red flags are going off and I'm still waving the little white flag. Like, I give up. I don't care about them red flags.
So if you were to, and I'm not saying that you're going to leave this dude or not, but when and if you decide to date again, what are the few red flags that you know from the get-go? Because we've had this conversation on past podcasts, and if I go on a date, I kind of speed date, and I'm an asshole from date 1, because I don't have 3 or 4 dates of paying for your monkey ass for you to figure out that, oh, I don't like him. So is that the approach that you might take, or is there like, since you say you're going to slow down and be a little more selective,
Well,
what might
honesty, like you were saying, is a very big flag. You know what I mean? Like, you know when things are adding up and when they're not adding up, and intuition does tell you what's up. And whether or not you pay attention to it, it just is on y'all. You know what I mean? But everybody has their flaws. You know what I mean? And I just want somebody to love me for me. So I'm going to show you the whole me and nothing but the me. You know? I couldn't tell you exactly one for one red flag or not. There's so many red flags that you can notice, and it's really just trusting your gut.
So we're talking about pet peeves, and we're not talking about pet peeves. We're talking about concerns about dating. Earlier we had talked about pet peeves, and I'm going to pull that in. One thing that is a pet peeve of mine that's a red flag is when your first date, someone's sitting there on their phone. And I know, because I sit and watch, like when you go out to eat now, you see these couples, they don't even talk anymore. They'll be sitting there on their phone. And you know, if you're going to be like that on our first freaking date, the date that you're supposed to be feeling each other out, getting some attention, finding each other out, how is it going to go? So that's a huge pet peeve for me. Other things I think about in dating, I've had a couple really good friends throughout my life that were females. And I know, you know, I'd hear them call, found out he was married, he lied to me, he did this type of stuff. If someone carries a second phone, red flag.
Red flag.
Okay? Sure. If someone will not allow you to call them at home, or oh no, I won't give you my address right now. You know, we'll do this later. Red flag.
Okay. No, I haven't had that much experience in the dating scene apparently.
And the other thing, the other thing I love that my good friend used to she'd run into is she'd always be like, you know, well, he told me they were just living together. They were living in separate rooms, and I always think that's funny because, you know, every time that happened to her 3 times that I can count when we were in our 20s.
She's retarded.
I know she is. She always fell for married men, always. And you know who you are. I'm not going to say your name. But the funny part is is it'd always be the same. The guy would lie to her and she'd find out, oh, they were happy, the wife never knew it, you know, everything. And she'd always run into this. But if they're carrying a second phone, if they're not, you know, if you aren't allowed to come over to their house unannounced,
No, I
red,
pop up.
exactly, red
Like
flag.
Jack in the
I'm
Box.
sorry. To date me, I require all passwords, the key to your house.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
You gonna be
But it's
single
not
forever.
I've never done the password thing. No, okay, I never done the password thing until my recent relationship. And I kind of regret that. It wasn't even, I didn't even want it. He wanted it. And I was just like, whatever, I don't do nothing bad. Like, yes, and from the very first time we talked, like, I am very loved by a lot of people. As much as I love people, and I'm protected. And I associate with a lot of male friends. And that's one thing that he just cannot stand.
How about your pet peeves?
My pet peeves?
Yeah.
Um,
For in dating, red flags in dating.
Red flags in dating, like, I'm colorblind. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know. I deal with a lot. I can deal with a lot of shit.
So
I don't know
said
where-
you're
I
very
don't-
social.
Yeah.
Is that a red flag for you if someone's like jealous and controlling?
Yes, I don't like it. I like togetherness, like I said. If my person cannot come and participate and see how I interact with my friends, and realize that these are just friends, and like, no, dude, like, if you're gonna segregate yourself from everything else, then just keep yourself away.
How many times we hung out? We've never met your man, so what's that say?
But I will accept it because he's not a sociable person, and my dad was like that too. You know what I mean?
As long as he's respecting the fact that you are,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, and so it's hard on him, and I know
I want a
that.
shy guy. I just want one
And
that's
I see,
single.
because I can't have a guy. You know what I mean? I can't have a guy who wants to talk to
Ronnie's
everybody.
single.
So I feel like I'm kind of like a hypocrite. You know what I mean? Because I know my intentions. You know what I mean? I don't know yours.
It's true.
So that's where you can have friends or whatever, but like I don't know. I guess I
So
don't
he
know.
had a bunch of female friends.
It's like
you
the
cool
secretive
with?
thing. If you could talk
Yeah.
to your friend in front of me and I could hear what you're
Yeah,
saying,
how you interact, yeah.
it's cool. If you're now sneaking off to talk to your friend
Red
If,
flag.
if,
Because you
if
can't
a
say
conversation
anything
is on
in
quiet,
front of me, yes, that's a red flag.
I'm about to make some motherfucking noise.
You
And
can't
nothing
be
in this shit is gonna be quiet. You know what I mean? Because that's happened, or I seen a conversation on quiet. And I was like, okay, now I'm about to raise hell and make some noise because
I like her face. I'm about to make some noise up in here.
you hear me. You're gonna feel me. Literally. You're gonna feel me. Because now you got shit messed up. You know what I mean? So that secretive stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't. We're not communicating.
Yeah,
right?
you
It's
know?
not-
So it
not-
does.
How
And
about-
yeah.
How about you, Mr. Rick? Do you have red flags?
Oh man.
If she's pregnant.
It's that Dion Cole, man. Shout out to Dion Cole. Where you gotta ask a dude and go deeper. You know, you gotta ask him, do you got any kids? And you say no. Do you have any on the way? Like, you gotta go deeper, right? So I think
Dude, that's so true.
because
my
a
God.
guy doesn't count until it touches to the earth, right? So.
Oh, hell no.
But with me, man, I think just being in this dating world over the past 5 years now. I'm going on 5 years of being divorced, and and I've seen a lot of red flags. My friends have seen the red flags for me, and as a guy, you kind of just dismiss it. You kind of, oh, well, the pussy good or this or and but I think. Now red flags for me, man, I could name a bunch of them. I know for me, I kind of look at the red flags from the last relationship that I was in. Like I was with her, or whatever you want to call that, for 2 years, never met the fucking family.
Yeah.
Like there's a red flag there. There's the fact that it was don't pop up, don't come through, don't.
Oh yeah.
Don't
If
come
I
to
do
my
that.
job.
I'll pull up at your
That's
house
like,
every
that's
morning.
like I said, that's a
Sorry.
red flag. You can't come by?
yeah, whenever.
Because if you're my partner,
I'm
there
gonna
should
be
be
proud.
anytime you want, I want you to come see me and vice versa. And if we don't have that, then I don't
And
know.
there was several occasions where I should have, there was one time I took her.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I got so many
was-
stories.
She did some test or something. I took her a cake, and I took her flowers and shit to her job.
And
And
this is our normal break where we say fuck series.
yeah, fuck serious, right? So, and most women would be like, man, my man's thoughtful. He came and brought me this. And
Yeah,
instead,
I
it was,
want that.
what are you doing in my job? And my heart sank and
That
was
hurts,
like,
man.
I brought you this shit. Like, what do you think I'm here for? And she was like, well, next time call. And I was like, next time, there will be a fucking next time.
That's right.
And then it just got to a point for me where I do the passive aggressive shit where I'll stick with your monkey ass and hate on you for another year until I get you back.
Revenge.
Then you leave, right?
Yeah, that's your red flag, bitch. Watch out.
I think one for me is like I don't, like I said, I'm shallow. I've never been married. I've never been engaged. It's just I don't want nobody who's. I guess I want somebody who's never been married and somebody who don't have kids. So those two are kind of like red flags for me. I don't want, I don't want that. So.
Yo, it's your boy Charlie Murphy, my main man Rick James. That's the one you think, the comedian Rick James. Get up on him.